Imagine a fortress, impregnable, built on expectation and the very soil of its master's dreams. Imagine an invading force, battered, broken, whispered to be on its last breath, daring to breach its walls, not just to survive, but to plunder its most sacred treasure. This is the tale of defiance, of the night the odds didn't just bend, they shattered under the weight of an impossible will. Chelsea, a club forever chasing an elusive phantom, found itself staring down the barrel of annihilation. Their journey to Munich was less a path and more a brutal gauntlet, each step a descent deeper into peril. Manager sacked mid-season, a squad fractured by age and internal doubt, they were a wounded animal dragging itself through the European jungle. The whispers from the pundits were a constant, chilling hum, they can't, they won't, their time is over. A history laden with near misses, their very legacy felt like a whisper of what could have been, an almost curse, especially after the Moscow rain, where the rain-soaked pitch reflected their heartbreak. This was a team not just fighting opponents, but battling the cruel hand of fate itself. Napoli, a whirlwind of attacking ferocity, had them on the ropes, a 3-goal deficit screaming doom. But from the brink of oblivion, a desperate surge, a refusal to capitulate, saw them claw back, pulling themselves free from the abyss. The shadows deepened with each round, each victory merely a stay of execution, a temporary reprieve from the inevitable. Benfica, then the Titan Barcelona, the reigning champions, a team that played football with an almost divine arrogance, seemed an insurmountable obstacle. The semi-final against Barcelona was a masterclass in survival, a defensive war waged under siege. At Stamford Bridge, a lone goal offered a fragile advantage, a glimmer of hope quickly overshadowed by the return leg's looming threat. The Camp Nou. A coliseum designed for their adversary's coronation. Imagine the roar, a physical force pressing down, suffocating. An early red card for Terry, 2 quick goals, the world collapsing. It felt like the universe itself conspired against them, a cruel, mocking laugh echoing through the vast stadium. Down to 10 men, 2 goals adrift, deep inside the lion's den, logic dictated surrender. But something stirred. A primal, desperate defiance. Ramirez, with a chip of impossible audacity, found the net, a whisper of life against the deafening tide of despair. Then, the dying seconds, Barcelona throwing everything forward, their inevitable triumph poised. And then, Fernando Torres, a figure often derided, broke free. A solo run, a moment of pure, raw instinct, weaving past the last defender, slotting it home. The silence that followed was deafening, the sound of a world that expected one outcome, only to be brutally denied. They had escaped, but the cost was immense. Key players, the very bedrock of their resilience, were suspended for the final, leaving gaping wounds in their tactical armor. And so, the stage was set for the ultimate confrontation, the Allianz Arena. Not just a final, but a coronation on home soil, a stage meticulously prepared for Bayern Munich's triumph. The very air thrummed with the energy of anticipation, a sea of red painting the stands, a formidable visual warning. Chelsea arrived a ghost of a squad. Stripped bare of core defenders and midfield anchors, John Terry, Ramirez, Raul Meireles, Branislav Ivanovic, their lineup was a patchwork of audacity and necessity, a group of warriors missing their shields and spears. Gary Cahill, hobbling on one leg, David Luiz, barely fit enough to stand, yet thrust into the heart of defense. The odds were not just stacked against them, they were a crushing weight designed to flatten them before a ball was even kicked. Bayern, a perfectly oiled machine, attacked with relentless fury, waves upon waves of crimson shirts crashing against a blue dam. Petr Cech, a man transformed, became an impassable wall, his reflexes supernatural, his presence a defiant rebuke to every shot, every header. The minutes bled away, each one a torment, a testament to the suffocating pressure. Bayern's dominance was absolute, their control suffocating, yet the dam held, barely. The clock ticked toward 70 minutes, then 80, the tension a physical entity in the air. The Chelsea faithful, hoarse from roaring, began to steel themselves for the inevitable, for the honorable defeat that seemed their only logical escape. Then, the 83rd minute. A cross, arcing, deceptive. Thomas Muller, unmarked, rose, and the ball found the net. The Allianz erupted. A primal roar of triumph, a catharsis of expectation fulfilled. The fortress had held. The invaders were routed. It was over. The despair was instantaneous, a cold, crushing wave washing over every blue shirt, every blue heart. A cruel twist of fate, a dagger plunged deep in the dying seconds. The camera panned to Drogba, head bowed, the weight of a season, a career, a club's dream, settling heavy on his shoulders. The Bayern fans were already celebrating, the party in full swing, their players embracing, their mission accomplished. But the game, in its infinite, merciless wisdom, had one last breath to take. One last, impossible, defiant gasp. Less than 2 minutes remained on the clock after Muller's strike. Chelsea, seemingly dead, refused the burial. A corner. Juan Mata, standing over it, a forlorn figure. The kick, a last, desperate prayer, arced into the box. And then, time seemed to stretch, distort. Didier Drogba, the very embodiment of defiance, sprang. He rose, a titan amidst the red shirts, connecting with the ball with a force born of pure, unadulterated will. The net rippled. Silence, then a collective gasp from the red majority, quickly obliterated by an explosion of sound from the small pocket of blue. Drogba, running to the corner flag, a man possessed, celebrating a miracle snatched from the jaws of oblivion. The world stopped. Bayern, once jubilant, stood stunned, frozen in disbelief. The fortress had been breached, not by a siege engine, but by a single, shattering blow from its most fearsome warrior. Extra time. An additional 30 minutes of nerve-shredding, lung-bursting struggle. The momentum had shifted, a subtle, almost imperceptible tremor, but it was there. Bayern, rattled, pushed forward, desperate to reassert their dominance, to finish what they had started. 5 minutes into extra time. Drogba, the hero of the hour, committed a foul in his own box. Penalty. The heart-stopping moment. Arjen Robben, the former Chelsea winger, stepped up. The stage was his, the opportunity to seal his former club's doom, to restore the natural order. A chance for vengeance. The crowd held its breath. Robben struck it fiercely, a laser-guided shot, aimed for the corner. But Petr Cech, defying all logic, guessed right, parried it away. A colossal, game-saving block. The weight of that save, the psychological shift, was monumental. It wasn't just a physical act, it was a defiant roar, a declaration that Chelsea would not yield. The terror of the moment, the sheer, nail-biting suspense, was almost unbearable. Cech had stared down the barrel and blinked, not in fear, but in triumph. The two teams limped towards the inevitable shootout, drained, exhausted, their fates now resting on the whims of a few inches, a few millimeters. The penalty shootout. The ultimate lottery, a psychological battle where nerves fray and heroes are forged. The Allianz Arena, once a cauldron of celebration, was now a tomb of unbearable tension. Each kick was a drop into the abyss, a moment where entire seasons, dreams, and legacies hung by the thinnest thread. Lahm, Gomez, Neuer, all scored for Bayern. Mata missed for Chelsea, plunging them back into the familiar pit of despair. The threat of defeat loomed, a monstrous shadow. But Alex's shot was saved by Cech, a second act of defiant heroics. Then Schweinsteiger stepped up, the weight of his nation, his club, on his shoulders. He struck it, but the ball cannonied off the post, a sickening thud echoing through the stadium. The impossible had become possible. The scales, once heavily tilted, had miraculously, unbelievably, leveled. It came down to one man, the man who had dragged them to this moment, the man who had refused to die. Didier Drogba. The final kick. The entire stadium, indeed the entire footballing world, held its breath. History, expectation, a lifetime of near misses, all converged on this one spot, this one moment. A step, a glance, a deep breath. The ball was struck with conviction, with power, with an unyielding certainty. It flew past Neuer, nestled in the back of the net. The eruption was not just sound, it was pure, unadulterated emotion. A release of years of frustration, of doubt, of struggle. The weight of a curse, shattered. The impossible dream, snatched from the jaws of a merciless fate. Chelsea, the battered, the broken, the defiant, had conquered the fortress. They had not merely won, they had defied every single odd, every expectation, every cruel twist of fate. Against the might of Bayern, in their own stadium, with half a team, they had snatched the most coveted prize in European football. It was a victory forged in fire, born of an unbreakable will, a triumph that proved true belief can indeed move mountains. The terror, the struggle, the overwhelming odds, they all melted away in that single, glorious moment of pure, unadulterated joy, leaving behind a wide smile, of witnessing the ultimate underdog story reaching its fairy tale conclusion. That's just one of them.